I'd like to call this special meeting to order for the December 12th agenda for Sunshine Task Force. Madam Clerk, will you do roll call? Yes. Member Lee? Member May? Present. Member Washburn absent. Member Pilpine? Present. Member Sands absent. Member David? Present. Member Highland? Present. Member Oka absent. Member Fisher absent. And Member Grant present. Member Kwong. Great.
To the chair, Ms. Osborne, what communications have we had with me formally during his absence? Ms. Washburn has indicated that she was under the weather and attended. What about members Sims and Fisher and Oka?
The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force office received communications from Member Washburn and Member Oka earlier this afternoon that they will not be in attendance.
Okay, Mr. Oka, do you have a reason?
No.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we excuse Member Washburn. If you want to add Member Oka? No, just Washburn. If you didn't give a reason, what about Member Fisher?
Member Fisher and Member Sims are just going to be late. They're coming.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, if Mr. Oka didn't give a reason, this is kind of excuse him. I'm not for your holiday spirit, but I'll still second the motion. So the motion is to excuse Member Washburn.
Is there any disagreement? It's been moved and seconded to excuse Member Washburn. Let's take public comment on this.
Executive Director of the Users Association oppose any excused absences when there is no definition we have seen or aware of in the bylaws of this body. You might as well make a motion to say that they're new, that they look good, not well-dressed, or unpleasant to work with. It simply has no bearing this task force's actual results or actions. The bylaws do speak of a warning for 2 absences, and you can read it in a very short section. I will read it directly before you, and wish you would read it. There's a very short paragraph on attendance, and there's nothing mentioned about excused or unexcused. And so it's troubling to feel that the task force was once again making it up as it goes without any basis whatsoever in anything that I have seen, again, based on the task force's bylaws. At other places, there is a definition for what an excused absence means. We don't even know at this moment what it means. Does it mean it doesn't count as an absence toward the 2 issuing of the meeting, and a third one, notification of the supervisors? There are specific consequences of absences that are specified in the bylaws, and I'm not aware that there's anything whatsoever to do with excused or unexcused, nor do I know what the intention is here to sit here and take the time to discuss whether these are going to be excused or not. And I would certainly appreciate if anybody on the task force would clarify what is intended by this action, what is the meaning of this action in the context of task force meetings and task force bylaws.
Oka, would you like to?
I'm not sure that I can respond. I think we're just, there's just a motion to excuse. I'm not sure how well defined it is, but I think that's the proposed action, and it's, in my opinion, it's properly before the body. Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? If not, it has been moved and seconded to excuse Member Washburn. Is the majority in agreement? Without objection? The Madam Clerk, it has been moved and seconded. Pass without objection. Member Sims is here, as you see her. Member Sims, we will take him off as being absent. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Next is any agenda changes. What I'd like to do with that is, one, kind of update the complaints that have been filed, see who is here, and let you know that Madam Clerk received from Anonymous file cases 12024, 12025, and 12026. That the complainant wanted those to be removed. She was taken into court, and she apologized for the delay in letting us know about that.
So, on those very briefly, can we be clear, those have been withdrawn by the complainant?
Yes.
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn. Case number 12021, Madam Clerk, that has been resolved. So, we can take that off.
And also withdrawn? I just want to be clear on this.
Has been resolved and withdrawn.
Got it.
So, file number 12019, Library Users Association, Mr. Warfield is present, and the Arts Commission is present. Okay. File 12022, is Mr. Leo McFadden here?
Yes.
Great. And is a representative from the Department of Building Inspection here? Great, thank you. So with those changes, sure, perhaps, okay, and Mr. Warfield with case 12019, I just received notice, but we can go with that in a moment. Are there any other agenda changes that the members know about or would like to add?
Just an inquiry. So Ms. Lee is with us tonight because there was a conflict. Are you with us for the whole evening, such as it is?
Yes, I'm here specifically on matter 12022.
Okay, so to the extent that we hear 12019, are you also handling that? Or?
I am. Just the grade is gone, so yes, I'll be handling that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wondering in terms of timing, so thanks.
Are there any other agenda changes? Okay. If not, let's get started. So let's start with file number 12019. I just received it, so let me show that. The Library Users Association has requested a postponement. So why don't, Mr. Warfield, why don't you come up and explain to the rest of the members that may not have seen that request for postponement, why you want to request that?
Executive Director of Library Users Association. We're asking for a postponement and understand that this is something exceptional and we're asking for a postponement for this. We have even stayed till very, very late, as you know. Things have been canceled, even the understand until 10 or 11 o'clock at night and so on. So this is not taken lightly. There are two main reasons. The first is that the agenda is incorrect based on the full complaint. It has hacked out a portion. It has taken the example that we provided and made that the entire complaint. It's as though I had a complaint about somebody not having a clue about how to dress. And for example, look at the jewelry on my hands. It's all loud bling. And the agenda says he's complaining about the loud bling. So these are the letters that you see.
Tell us so the other members know exactly what you're referring to, what page on the agenda, the thing that is incorrect.
may I read the letter that I sent?
Sure.
Okay. At today's special meeting of the Central Task Force, we expect to ask for postponement of our complaint number 12019 because 1, a defective agenda item has been posted that misrepresents the nature of our complaint and might limit full consideration. And number 2, additional administrative problems have reduced the likelihood of a full and fair hearing. We also ask that any discussion of this postponement not take time away from any presentation time on the listed item should it be heard. It's items 2A and 2B. So the agenda issue, the key problem is that the agenda leaves out 2 words from our complaint's initial sentence, making it appear that we have restricted our complaint to, quote, redacting contact information from supporters of the attention of the Bill of Rights Branch Library of the Guatemala Multicultural Hispanic Community. That's your agenda item 2, file number 12019, and you can read it in the agenda just in the first paragraph. In fact, we are concerned about all redactions that we received in response to our information request. Our complaint's first paragraph reads as follows, and I'd appreciate if you would listen to me if you can find it in the agenda packet, which is about 38 pages. The first paragraph of our complaint says, this is a complaint about inappropriate redactions of contact information from supporters of the attention of the existing Bill of Rights Branch Library of the Guatemala Multicultural Hispanic Community and others by the Arts Commission from information provided to Library Users Association. We further went on to say, quote, the redactions occurred in multiple places, including all contact information from and then listed some retention and restoration supporters. And again, another paragraph is a 5-paragraph complaint. We particularly draw attention to redaction of contact information for supporters of retaining the existing law, and then we gave names and page references. And then in this sentence, there are additional redactions related to Arts Commission members and others. So the complaint was clearly stating that it was about all of the redactions that we had received from the Arts Commission when we made an information request, and not just the supporters. And that is something I think is very important, that it be included in that consideration and not just a portion of the redactions. Any questions? The letter goes on to talk about administrative issues that I think will not be full and fair treatment. Mr. Wilfield, let me just make sure that I hear you right. You're contending that because the agenda itself does not mention these other redactions beyond the contact information for supporters of the retention of the Bill of Rights Branch Library, your concern is that we could not then properly hear your complaint with respect to the other redactions. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Through the chair, I'd like to ask Ms. Lehman, Deputy City Attorney, her interpretation of that, particularly since these other redactions are mentioned in the information packet, which was properly posted. Would the wording on the agenda thus limit or exclude us from considering those other redactions as part of this complaint? Or can we do that as well?
My opinion is that the agenda is simply for the administrative purpose, and the complaint, if it is complete, it stands on its own.
So we could hear the entire complaint that's in the info packet, is that your opinion?
as I said, the complaint stands on its own. The fact that there may be a difference in what is actually stated on the agenda,
that shouldn't prevent the rest of the complaint from moving forward.
the complaint is, as filed, stands on its own, as I said.
Okay. In that case, Mr. Murphy, do you still want to continue your complaint?
Yes, because first of all, I think the city attorney's advice is wrong. If it isn't wrong, all I'm concerned is involvement with openness in government, and I wouldn't want the task force to consider other aspects of other types of redactions that are included in this complaint without having proper notice to the public. Section number 1 with the second part, administrative issues.
Yes, why you'd like this person? Yes.
There are a number of administrative and I need from the letter again, page 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry, may I interrupt you? Madam Clerk, did you respond to Mr. Warfield?
I'm not.
Sorry. I did not get a chance to respond to Mr. Warfield. It was received about an hour before the meeting started. Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think we sent it about 3:57, so just a hair more than an hour. So I just wanted to be fair and to folks what to expect. Page 2 of our letter, administrative issues. There are a number of administrative actions that hamper a fluid flow during this time. Number 1. We received oral information that the December 12th meeting would be taken up the December 12th meeting would be taking up this We received oral information that the December 12th meeting would be taking up this 9-month-old complaint, number 1209, only at the very end of the December 5th meeting. For the puzzled looks, I was at the meeting and repeatedly asked last week, what's the plan of attack for the outstanding complaints? And only at the very end of the meeting was I told by the chair that the plan was to take the complaints in order. Since I had noticed from the administrator's report that 12019 was our complaint against the Arts Commission, it looked as though that was the next one up after the last complaint on last week's meeting, which was 12018. And the chair said, yes, that's right. So we only knew that this was coming up today, less than 1 week prior, overnight. The administrator's letter providing notice of a hearing on complaint number 12019 was sent at 2:25 p.m. December 5th, and it said, any updates to a complaint may be submitted for the packet by 3 p.m. December 6th, 2012. So we had less than 1 day's notice to provide additional information for inclusion in the packet, and as we actually saw the administrator's email after the deadline, we effectively had no time at all. Second, the administrator's letter articulates a new rule on deadlines for provision of information. The new rule appears to be in violation of the standard letter of the existing SOTF procedure and was never discussed or approved by the task force to my recollection. The existing procedure, and I'm talking about a written procedure now, allows for the fact that last minute information may not be from the other side, and requires material to be provided for inclusion in the packet 1 week prior to the meeting. The full procedure says the following under C, public hearing procedure. And I quote, for a document to be considered, it must be received at least 5 working days before the hearing. In brains, Tuesday before the actual meeting. At the hearing before the task force, should the complainant submit additional documentation that has not been submitted to other parties, he or she shall be given the following options. 1. Proceed with the hearing without SOTF consideration of the additional documentation, and then it goes on. In other words, if you didn't provide material a week before the meeting, you can't expect that the task force will consider it. By contrast, the administrator December 5th, 2012 to complain ordinance on the December 12th agenda says the following. Additional documents to be distributed to the task force members prior to the scheduled meeting date must be received by December 10, 2012. Note, this is just 1.5 days prior to the meeting. We note that this latest deadline was also inconsistent with what was allowed for the previous meeting, which is the December 5th meeting. At that time, the administrator said documents could be provided up to noon 1 day before the meeting, not 2 days, as this time. We had expected the same rule would apply this week as the week before, and consequently were taken by surprise by the standard 1 day versus 2 day requirement. The Reasons Association thanks you for your time and effort on this matter. Sincerely yours.
Couple of things. At some point very soon, maybe now, I would love to hear from the Arts Commission about whether or not they would oppose a continuance. That would be sort of informative to the gang here. And then I
have some questions. I just have some questions.
Yeah.
If you could come up and listen, if you'd be opposed to a continuance.
I prefer to
On the-
wrap it up now, to be
Perfectly honest? Okay. But, if you vote... Yeah, I prefer to take care of it tonight, if possible. However, if you vote to continue it, then I'll be back. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson, you have questions for Mr. Wilson?
I guess it's sort of just a more of a comment. If we do continue the matter, and I guess I'm not opposed to continuing the matter, perhaps we could at least deal with jurisdiction if that's possible. That's an option. Perhaps consider jurisdiction, and if we so find, then continue consideration of the item on the merits. But if we do continue it on the merits, I would ask both sides if they could focus a little more on the specific legal action issue and why under whatever, I'm sorry, is it Article 1, Section 1 of the state constitution, why the right to privacy would or would not be implicated, and why redaction is or is not appropriate, citing whatever we want to cite. But I thought that the materials were a little thin on that point, and I wanted to hear more from both sides on that. Particularly if we're going to continue it, that would be helpful. That's all.
Yes.
Item number 2 has subsection A and B, is determination of jurisdiction by the B of the hearing. Since they both reference a description of a complaint which is incomplete, I think that not only would have an objection, but maybe to speed things up by a few minutes next time, but since the jurisdiction of this complaint would be on the complaint as stated in the agenda, which is incomplete, I would object to that. I would not object if there was a proper description of what the issue was in the above paragraph. So both the actions, discussion and action are based on an incorrect agenda item that I believe misinforms the public. Mr. Wilford, it's not a question of changing the agenda, it's a question of the notice to the public that concerns you. Is that the crux of the matter? I understand what you mean about that. That notifying the public concerns me, but if you mean that the agenda item changed on this element, the agenda will reflect what the complaint includes. So that everybody can know and see it, and it can be posted and everything else for all the members of the public and so on.
Fair enough. Thank you. But just the two words, and others.
It seems like it's just two words, and others, and I don't, from my reading of the wording on the agenda, it doesn't lose its effect or in any way alter its meaning to the point where the public would not not being recognized. I do agree that your original complaint included in others, but I do not feel like the lack of the word in others construed the meaning of the agenda item, therefore not giving the public fair notice of what was going to be discussed and adjudicated today. So, but while I do understand, so your concern, I would feel like we should take this matter up and go for it today. I don't know how others feel about it.
There are two reasons I mentioned. Perhaps I should also say that I have underlined and put in bold on page 1 of the letter. And that is the first sentence in our complaint. This is a complaint about inappropriate redactions of contact information, and then it goes on from supporters of retention and others. So there's also inappropriate redactions. The larger issue of what can be redacted is what I was concerned about, and not just that supporters were having their contact information redacted.
Yes.
There was another second part of Mr. Warfield's request for the continuance, or the second part of the basis for his request, and that is the fact that there was insufficient time to put in any amendments to the complaint. We met on the 5th, and if you could refresh on Mr. Warfield about that second part, the administrative part of the letter, you felt you had insufficient time to amend the complaint, is that correct?
I went to a computer, and realizing that people going to a computer isn't necessarily that easy on our end. So I figured, well,
what did the letter say? I think that's what the
letter that I received?
No, the letter that you wrote, the second part of that complaint in the administrative.
Mr. Warfield, everyone doesn't have it. We haven't seen it, so that's right.
So I just...
You said that you received insufficient notice time. If I heard you correctly, you said you received insufficient notice time to amend the complaint. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Warfield, can you put it up on the screen? On the projector. So this is Mr. Warfield has a two-part basis for his request here. So even though this case is 9 months old, this last week was important to you to get information on. Actually, the information you wanted in was the change in the description that is the agenda item, correct? Well, it's not all right, so there's nothing different than, go ahead.
It's very clear, as Mr. Allen says, there is additional information on the to provide.
Oh, there's really additional information.
So we don't have that information. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Well, you should have started with that one.
Okay. I didn't understand that. I thought you were saying more so with the administrative issues that you felt that, when I do recall telling you that your case was going to be heard today, that, that was from last Wednesday to this Wednesday, we did this special case to try to get ahead in some of these cases, that was a timely enough matter. I thought that was your main concern. Your biggest concern is that you have additional information that we have not seen as of yet. Is that correct for us to...
Partially correct.
Okay.
And this is something that's very important. Sunshine should operate in the function that represents sunshine and government. One of the biggest things that we are concerned with is secrecy and not providing information and not showing information, not having information. I want whatever I've got to say about this and there's additional information to be provided. I don't want it slipped into a file a day and a half or 2.5 days before the meeting so that the members can look at it. When I came here last week, I had no clue as to whether anybody had gotten a letter I had sent 2.5 days before. I had no clue if anybody in the public had a copy. There was nothing out in the room showing the public the additional information that I had provided a day and a half before for you. So there was a real disconnect in terms of what publicly is available, and above all, there's nothing in the record, nothing in the file from last week when we did go ahead with the complaint nonetheless. There was nothing in the file that's public, posted for 3 years on the web minimum, available as an agenda packet to anyone who asks. If I want to say to somebody, this is what this complaint is about, and this is what we provided, and this is what the other side provided, on the web, with the rest of the company, we can't do that. We can't do that if we already are closed off from adding material to an agenda packet by being notified of a meeting essentially at the time that it's already closed. So I want the material to be in the agenda packet, visible to everybody, posted for everyone to see, and not just slipped in just between us.
Madam Clerk, I have a question for you. So, you do post, because we did get that additional letter, just to use as an example from Mr. Warfield from the last time, you sent that via email.
Yes, via email. I think what's concerned is since there's agenda timeline, and usually that agenda notices go out that at least 5 to 6 days prior, and giving the respondent or compliant proper notice, at least to get documents submitted to me for the packet, they have 24 hours. Because that's that Thursday, Friday, everything has to be up and posted. So any additional items of courtesy, they can send to me, email me, when I email out to the members, which I've done before.
Okay.
So just let me ask you, so there's no cutoff date when they would stop sending stuff?
No, that's, the onus is on them. So if they want to send something today at the meeting, then you're not prepared, but the onus is on them. As a courtesy, they can send things to me, email to me, and I will email out, disperse it out to the members.
But the difference in Mr. Warfield's case today is that he didn't know that the meeting was, that his agenda item was going to be set, but I guess nobody really knows the agenda item was going to be set until the notice actually goes out.
Wednesday night, we asked, and then the agenda went out that next morning, correct?
Yes.
So that went out that Thursday. The 6th? The 6th. And so your concern is that, so are we abiding by, that's what
Yes. So the agenda was up on the 6th, but everyone was noticed as a responding to the plans on the 5th.
So it was,
And in that email, it states that if you want any items in the actual packet, the packet, it has to be done, it's submitted within 24 hours. If not, then as a courtesy, then they can email it to the office and it will be emailed out to the members.
got it, okay. So this is included in the agenda item when on the 5th and we talked. Then whoever, the respondents have to get it in 24 hours, so they would have had to get it in Thursday. However, if you didn't, as we got this letter, some of us may see it as a courtesy, you sent this letter out today requesting this permit, and now it's up to you.
But his complaint is that, and Mr. Warfield, if I'm incorrectly stating your claim, please correct me, is that it was more than that. Normally it's, 48 hours? And that here he only had 24 hours. What's the normal course after you send the email? What do you tell them?
It's 5 days, that's 5 days. That's 5 days prior to the meeting, because the meeting is to be noticed. So in that time, you have to consider that, say, the agenda is finalized on that Wednesday. By that next day, I'm noticing the complaints and response within 24 hours. But they have a proper notice of those 5 days prior to the meeting that their agenda item will be scheduled.
So 5 days from the time they are noticed. 5 days from the meeting.
Combination, just a clarification, 5 days, is that business days or calendar days?
Calendar.
I'm sorry, that's not correct according to your own procedures. And I read from your own procedures, section C.
Excuse me, can I get a number profile? What's
It's a
the
week, not 5 days. A week.
number profile?
Okay. I think that our procedures need to be updated because I think they were still relative to meetings on Tuesdays when the task force met on the fourth Tuesday, which is why the Tuesday is referenced. We'll get to that in the fullness of time. Given that we've now spent 26 minutes talking about whether or not to talk about a thing, I am persuaded that we should continue the matter because the complainant has requested it, the respondent has not strongly objected. I don't think there's any prejudice one way or the other. And so I move that we continue the matter to the call of the chair, giving the chair discretion for when to set it with the proper and appropriate notice. Thank you.
Who seconded it?
Seconded.
Okay. Member Lee?
I'd like to present a substitute motion that this matter be continued to the next regular meeting.
Fine with that too.
You fine with that? It has been moved and seconded that we,
Actually, how about the next meeting, which might not be a regular meeting?
which might be a special meeting, the next meeting.
Next meeting.
The next meeting.
Continue to the next meeting. Agreed.
It's been moved and seconded to move case file number 12019 to our next Sunshine Task Force meeting.
Roll call? Or do you have to?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I appreciate the time the task force is taking with this. It's very important. Please do not trivialize this as wasting 20-something minutes or whatever number of minutes it is. This is crucial to how complainants interact with the task force. I happen to be more resourceful and more articulate and more willing to deal with issues, but when your own procedures that are posted say 5 working days, and then you have another procedure that says, well, you could actually give it till tomorrow, where does the complainant get left? Run over by a truck. And what about the newly created rule that seems to have been administratively created without any documentation in the procedures that suddenly allows late material to come in? I appreciate that the Arts Commission didn't give anything at the last minute, but I've been here in past years when many of you were here, and last minute stuff would be dumped on this commission, and the complainant would come in here blindsided by something that had been sent that very day and was now presented to the body, and now they have 3 pages of nasty stuff, personal attacks, legal claims of no kinds, and what made it even more confusing to the complainant was that, for example, I wouldn't know who, if anybody had gotten it, who, if anybody had read it. So I would be arguing something about a piece of paper, 3-page letter, that half of people haven't even seen. That's why it makes sense to have rules and to stick by them. And the mess that this represents in terms of your administration and your procedures is chaos and confusion and destructive to justice for the public. It's not a trivial matter. And if you had a whole 4-hour meeting to discuss your procedures and to set your procedures, it would be well worth the time, and I recommend that you do it, because this is chaos.
Chair Grant, I don't think we need to have a meeting to discuss the procedures. I think that is, if the procedures are written, I think they should be followed, and I think maybe there should be a conversation between you and the administrator to determine what the procedures are and what we're following in the letter of the procedures as written. And then if we're not, then let's bring it back and discuss it.
I think we're kind of wandering off track here. There's a motion on the floor, and I'd like to see it go forward.
Is there any further public comment? My name is Paula Davis, and I just want to make it known that except for Tom DeKinney, the Director of Cultural Affairs, no staff member of the Arts Commission has any training whatsoever in the Sunshine Ordinance. Sharon Page Ritchie writes the minutes for the full Arts Commission, and they're never correct. They're not done in accordance with the with the Sunshine Ordinance. But what is more damaging are the street artist meetings. Howard Lazar chairs the meetings and writes the minutes. That alone is a conflict. And these minutes post on the internet. They are very damaging to anyone. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any more public comment? If not, then I would like to see if there is any objection to the motion. Okay. If there's no objection, I'd like to pass this motion with an objection. So, I was going to, no one here is objecting, so I was just doing it by anything. Are you requesting a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Because I've been... That's fine. Can you do roll call? Member me? Aye. Washburn? Absent. Pilpel? Pilpel, aye. Sims?
Aye.
Sims, aye. David?
Aye.
David, aye. Highland? Highland, aye. Oka is absent. Fisher?
Aye.
And Grant, aye. We have 8 ayes. So the motion passes. We will postpone this case until our next Sunshine Task Force meeting. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. There is someone that wants to have public comment.
12021 was withdrawn.
Was resolved.
Yay, Ms. Osborne.
Hi. This is 3 minutes for us. You can have 3 minutes. Just sneak in, Jim. Not on the case that we're talking about. Yes. I just want to recount and go on record with the most recent incident that to me is disturbing. It would be telling. I have a street artist permit, and it is very difficult to deal with these people. They don't pick up the phone. Howard Lazar is never answering his emails. If he does, they're always off topic. I was in there probably 7 times during business hours to just simply pay by order and work out. I haven't done this process in a number of years. I asked if it could be done by mail, didn't get a response. So finally, through Paula Jessen of the City Attorney's Office, since this has been dragging on for months, she was able to get a confirmation of an appointment last Monday to go up into their offices. It was a simple thing of renewing this permit or paying for it, whatever. It was confirmed. I presented myself exactly at 3 o'clock. Walked in the door. To the left as you walk in, a young girl bolted into the back. I had no idea what was going on. I stood there for about 10 minutes, and a woman called me out into the hallway, not even in their offices, and began screaming at me that I screamed at Alyssa Lucorius. And I said, no, I absolutely did not. Do you have any cameras here? Do you have any record? Do you have any eyewitnesses? Is there anything that would prompt you to say this? I looked out, I was shaking, I was horrified, because this is a constant pattern that the Arts Commission does, and when they run to the City Attorney's Office and claim that they're civil servants and they're being harassed. I actually did file a police report because I constantly feel the need to document events to protect myself, and I was advised by the police and the attendant station that these people need to put cameras in their offices. And I would like this to be on public record. Great, thank you so much. Is there any more public comment?
Executive Director of the Users Association. I think it would benefit the task force, which is mostly new, to give an opportunity for orientation from the public, since you have behind closed doors a whole range of orientation, presumably attendance meetings or whatever. Unless it would be useful if you would reveal to the public how you have been given your orientation by whom and so on. For example, the city attorney is giving advice, which would be very clear to you, certainly from members of the public, if they want to know what you are getting, that the city attorney has been found in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance numerous times by this body. And there is dispute about what the good government guide says with respect to certain issues. You also need to know that you are your own deciders, if you like, on matters related to sunshine. But without disclosure publicly of what you are getting and what you're giving, it's difficult for the public to know what's going on in the minds and in their boxes. The idea, I think, that number C is a suggestion that the chair should discuss the procedures of the Sunshine Task Force with respect to complainants. I think is appalling, totally antithetical to the idea of sunshine. The procedures as they affect the public should be discussed in an open meeting with the public able to provide information, letters, testimony. As you just heard from me today, a little bit of history and a little bit of just what's happening now on today's agenda item, it's clear that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't know about and that is frustrating to complainants and frustrating, I think, to justice. If you look at your own procedures and then read closely what my mother has said, it's 2 pages and 14-point type. It's not that much. You will see chaos. You will see one procedure contradicting another procedure. You will see from literally one week to the next differing rules as to when something has to be brought, even to get into the file, which is the measurement procedures. This is chaotic and frustrating. Mr. Sims, if you were to be told that the following deadline for a case is a certain date, and you knew that that was the standard procedure, and you came to the last minute and said, oh, sorry, it was yesterday, and too late, I don't think you'd be really happy about it. Especially if you haven't been dealing with a serious matter or the death penalty. And that's what you're dealing with. It's urgent that you touch this up and do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? If not, I'd like to go to case number file 12022. The complaint is Mr. I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, can you please read that?
Item number 5, file number 12022, complaint by Leo McFadden against the Department of Building Inspection for allegedly denying access to Freedom of Information Act records.
Okay. Move it from jurisdiction.
Second. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you read the jurisdiction? Sure.
Jurisdiction or the hearing?
Oh, okay. Got it, okay. Love to open it up for discussion about the jurisdiction.
The jurisdiction is not being contested.
Okay, so let's know. I would like to pass the, is it moved and seconded? I'd like to see if there's public comment. I'm sorry, sir, before we get to. Is there any public comment about jurisdiction? No? Great. And I'd like Member Pilpin?
I would probably vote no on finding jurisdiction, but if the task force finds jurisdiction, I have no problem hearing the matter. My concern on this and other matters where the complainant doesn't provide sufficient facts and evidence or cite a particular section of the ordinance that was alleged to be violated, was alleged to have been violated, I think it puts more of a burden on the task force to hold essentially a huge fact-finding hearing, and I'm not particularly persuaded that at this point that is our role. So I really wanted to sort of have an appropriate burden, not too heavy but not too light, on complainants to provide that sort of basis. And with the paper that we got on this, including the supplemental materials this week, I still am having trouble finding that. So I just wanted to say that going forward, but be that as it may. Thank you.
Great. Can we take a roll call vote on this in the jurisdiction? Member May?
Aye.
Aye. May? May. Aye. Pilpin?
No?
Pilpin, no. Sims?
Aye.
Sims, aye. David?
Aye.
David, aye. Hyman?
Aye.
Hyman, aye. Fisher? Aye. Fisher, aye. Grant? Aye. Grant, aye. Yes, 7 ayes, 1 no. Great, thank you. So now, Mr. I'm sorry.
Leo McFadden.
Leo McFadden, please, you'll have 5 minutes to give us the substance of your complaint.
Good. Good evening. Thank you for being here on this cold evening. This is an unusual case because I'm requesting federal records from the city department, and it may be beyond the jurisdiction of this board, but in this case, the city record is the federal record. Carla Johnson, as the department head of the Department of Building Inspection, was required to maintain and preserve the public record per section, Sunshine Ordinance section 67.29-7. Ms. Johnson had multiple meetings with the FBI, and she failed to create records, or she destroyed the records of those meetings. The Department of Building Inspection doesn't have any records. Mr. Strong from the Department of Building Inspection has not produced any records. I've asked Mr. Strong he's the Public Information Officer from the Department of Building Inspection, and he has no records. The only remaining records are available through the Freedom of Information Act. Ms. Johnson is the sole custodian of those records, and because the FBI will not release those records without her permission. The Freedom of Information Acts that I did receive were substantially redacted in regards to Mrs. Johnson's major involvement. I don't know what she's hiding, but she fails to produce the records or grant permission to access the Freedom of Information Act records. I urge you to stop the secrecy, and I urge this board to find Ms. Johnson in violation of the Sunshine Ordinance for failing to maintain and disclose records. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone member of the public that would like to introduce facts and evidence in support of Mr. McFadden? If not, then I would like the respondent from the Department of Buildings.
Disability Mayor's Office of Disability now.
Good evening. Okay. My name is Carla Johnson, and I am with the Mayor's Office of Disability, no longer with the Department of Building Inspection, but I'm here with Bill Strong, who is with the Department of Building Inspection. Okay, thank you. So I think we'll probably split between.
Yes, I'm Bill Strong with the Department of Building Inspection, and I can confirm what Mr. McFadden just reported, which is that we did receive the records request from him specified to the matters that he just related. We looked, and there were no Department of Building Inspection records that addressed his request. I made that information known to Mr. McFadden, and that was the end of the matter.
And I would also like to confirm that I do not have any federal records in my possession. I have actually received 3 previous previous Sunshine Records requests from Mr. McFadden, and I have complied with all three of those, and the documents that I submitted to this body are copies of the letters that describe what I had and what I did not have and what I was turning over. It's a very unusual request to be asking me to create records. In the past, I did not create any records relative to my interviews with the FBI at the time of the event. And the event very quickly became actually less of an FBI investigation and more of a personnel investigation. And there were records that were generated as part of that personnel investigation. And those records were part of a personnel action or a disciplinary hearing, and they were turned over to the requester as part of that hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to introduce any facts and evidence in support of the DBI and DBI actually? No? Okay. I would like to open it up to the task force to question either the complainant or the respondent.
To Mr. McFadden first. And I should probably state, although I'm not sure I'm required to, that I know both now Mr. McFadden and Ms. Johnson and have dealt with them in prior capacities, but I don't believe that it rises to the level of personal or professional conflict, and I feel that I can judge the matter without bias. Could you just tell us could you be as specific as possible about what records you believe may exist that the city or Ms. Johnson or DBI would have that would go to your request that you believe have not been disclosed? Because that, I think, is where this is going.
Sure. Well, I could prove that she was given them misinformation because in her testimony at a Gus Fillet trial, she was proven wrong. And then when I did get the Freedom of Information Act request, there was multiple volumes of redactions in response to Ms. Johnson. So with the large record, I'm surprised that she doesn't have any other records. I really want to see what other misinformation she has given him.
So if I can follow up, the Freedom of Information Act is a federal law that covers federal agencies and federal records. Are you suggesting in your testimony that you made a request of the federal government and received records through FOIA that were redacted, and that's what you're just referring to?
Correct.
Okay. So 2 weeks, and you're looking for unredacted versions of that?
Exactly. And to get those unredacted versions, I need Ms. Johnson's permission per the FBI.
Okay. If that's the case, that seems to me like that's an issue between the two of you and the FBI, and probably not, I could be persuaded otherwise, but probably not a sunshine ordinance matter for the city. If the city or a city agency has records, then that may be something that's arguable that we can deal with. If there are, you get one.
Yes. I was hoping this board could compel her to sign that permission for the Freedom of Information Act.
I'm not sure that we can do that. I'm pretty sure, in fact, that we cannot do that. I was just going to ask Mr. Strawn or Ms. Johnson if you had anything else to shed light on this. If there, to your knowledge, if you have knowledge of the redacted federal documents at all, and if an unredacted version of those documents exist within a city agency, to your knowledge. If they are private records that are held by you or somebody else has them in some other context, then that's beyond our reach, I would suggest. But you got the question.
I have no knowledge of the federal records. I have never seen federal records. They never shared them with either me or the rest of the Department of Building Inspection, to the best of my knowledge, as confirmed by Bill Strawn.
I think that answers my question.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, I can definitely confirm that the Department of Building Inspection is never received such records, reviewed such records. If I had them, I would have given them to him.
Good answer.
Mr. Johnson, please. I think I heard you say that at some point this became an internal investigation by the Department of Building Inspection, an internal investigation of the employee, is that correct?
That is correct.
What record were kept of that investigation and the results of that investigation?
So that was an investigation that was actually conducted by the City Attorney's Office, and as a result of that investigation, they generated a report, and that report then became part of the official personnel record.
And was that report provided to Mr. McFadden?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Mr. McFadden, is that correct? That record was provided to you?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Mr. McFadden has indicated that yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Any questions? I'd like to open it up for, public comment. Sorry, yes. Mr. McFadden, would you like to come up and offer a rebuttal to what's been said?
Respond to this rebuttal first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Complaint.
So close.
Thank you for the opportunity for rebuttal, but I actually have no time for it. Thank you. Mr. McFadden?
Quickly, just to state that the report she references does not include Ms. Johnson's involvement with the FBI. There's a more substantial record that she's hiding by not giving permission for the Freedom of Information Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to find a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance? Need to public comment. If there's no motion, I'm going to find this matter concluded. Is there any public comment?
I'm confused by all this as an outside person to try and understand what's going on here. It's the same thing in a different way as Mr. Warfield's complaint. There's redactions, which are one part of it, and there's some files that I didn't even receive, so it's unclear to me what is really going on in this complaint.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment? If there's no public comment, and there has not been found a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance, I'm going to declare this matter concluded. Thank you. You can find it. So,
Nice to see you both again.
thank you both for coming. That is the last case that we have today. Next, because the other items were, withdrawn. So we are now going to go to
Item 9.
Item 9, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items. My future agenda items I'd like to find out about is for our January meeting with the members. I want to cancel the January 2nd meeting because it's right after New Year's, and find out if January 9th would work for you. I will not be in attendance meetings with Madam Vice Chair will do the meeting, so if there are enough members who agree about, what kind of attendance are going to have that's what I'm trying to find out. So if everyone's going to be here at that time, I think we'll have a quorum over here. I'm more likely to be here, but in a second, so remember me?
Should be okay for me.
Okay, so it looks like we have a quorum. So I'm going to, Madam Clerk, if you could put down that January 9th will be the next meeting of the Sunshine Task Force, that would be great.
Through the chair, just let you know, this is contingent on whether
that's right. If we have a room available. If we don't have a room, then I was just going to hold it over to the next week, and I'll be there the 13th. Will that Is it the 13th?
16th.
16th. So the 16th of January. Okay. So,
How about a day within the week, isn't it?
within the week of the 9th?
Yeah, I mean, it was
So let's see.
Tuesdays, but maybe Thursday, maybe or Monday.
Are there any days that are bad for people?
Tuesday is not good for me at all.
So let's... Monday. And that Thursday, okay. So let's just see what days are available for the room, because I am going to cancel the January 2nd meeting. And then let's just see the next week what days are available, and then we will send out a notice, yes.
Is there a way we can check the schedule is there?
It takes a few days, notice, it's a whole process.
Myself is through building management.
Yeah.
It's not like at work, we have meeting maker and go, boom, it's right there. And one last question on that. Ms. Osborne, we could, it would be easier if, like today, we started at 5, so does that free up other rooms and we don't have to start at 4?
If that's what you want to do, so I'll make that an option when I put in that request.
Yeah, it's a special meeting, so if that makes it easier for people. Okay. So, I want to click if you check into that 5 o'clock into the week of the 9th, and then if that doesn't, just go into the next week. And the first, day we can get available, Tuesdays and Thursdays of that.
Tends to be more available, so we may end up being back here the 9th.
Okay. Does anyone else have any announcements, agenda items, or questions? I know the Education Outreach Committee is meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock. 5:30. Okay. And are you that committee? Maybe me?
Yes, usually in September, the task force submits an annual report to the Board of Supervisors. Honestly, we couldn't do that this year, however, I think since we are now only constituted, it behooves us to put together an annual report as quickly as possible for submittal, and I guess to make it easier, each of the committee chairs also contributes to that report. The chair comes out with a statement, that is a reflection of the consensus of the entire task force, and then each of the committee chairs submits a report as well that is part of that report. So we'll be moving on that.
Is there we'll look at the ordinance to see if there's a certain...
Yeah, so there was being submitted late last year or early this year.
Okay, so member Sims is new to... So he's required to do it, even though this would be stuff that was prior to when we were
Does he chair committee?
the Rules Committee.
Yes, since the Rules Committee has mostly been doing it, it shouldn't be a terrible requirement.
Okay.
But yes, as the chair, and what I would suggest is each of you look at the last evening report and provide a template.
Okay, so can you actually send all of us? Can you email all of us so we can see what that report... On the website. It's on the website. Okay.
So,
Okay.
or somewhere, yeah. Further to that point, I actually had that on a different list when I asked at the last meeting that we talked about our workload and work plan. That was one of the items that was in my head. I actually think we should go to an annual report that covers the period when we're appointed, so that it's not a calendar year or a fiscal year basis, but it's like an April 27th, April 27th basis. And we've sort of gone back and forth over the years about what period to cover. I would encourage Chair Grant and the administrator to look at past formats and talk about this a little bit, but also to reach out to Hope Johnson, the past chair, because a lot of the period, whatever period we cover, there's some period that will include the last task force, and I don't think it should be incumbent on us to try to go back and recreate stuff from when we weren't it gets really funky. And the longer we wait on that, the more memories fade, and which is mostly bad, maybe good in some case, but anyway, just wanted to encourage that discussion. But Member Neal also reminded me, thinking about this, in September we also normally hear from the Supervisor of Records with their annual report of petitions received by the Supervisor of Records, which they are required to give us under the ordinance. Is that 21F? Anyway, there's a provision that I don't have right in front of me that requires that annual report. Since we weren't meeting then, we didn't, that's another thing that we should schedule. We don't have to do it for January, but that's why I wanted to have a discussion either at the January meeting, I'm not sure if you're going to be absent, we should do that in February, to figure out how we're going to deal with sort of these larger workload issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Well, in the timing of when we submit our report in the period that it covers, might be a good idea to check on with the clerk of the board, Ms. Calvi. She may have some other thoughts on that.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So if we could all start working on that, maybe over the holidays a little bit, that might start us off. We can take a look at the annual report and see what's necessary so we can start. It's a good idea. Get it out before we all forget and get caught up with life.
Further on the EOT agenda for tomorrow, we're actually talking about work plan and sort of what our interests are and what we want to do. So we'll have a discussion about that, which I'm happy to summarize at our full task force meeting in January, and go forward with that.
That'll be the first time meeting.
Yes. And you were talking a little bit, CAC may or may not meet next week. That's still something up in the air. And I'm just wondering if we have some thought on rules. Is that more likely sometime in January to chair Sims?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometime in January.
Fantastic. And I still owe you the thing, but that's fine.
So, as of now, Chair Washburn is not going to be present for the compliance meeting next week, so we need to figure that one out, but we'll take care of that. If there's nothing else, anybody else have anything?
Public comment, because Washington.
I'm sorry?
Public comment on item. We don't need public comment on that. On item 9. No, we don't need public comment on item 9.
Public comment on I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's a non-agenda. Public comment is required.
Go ahead.
And we have a lengthy discussion on what is going to happen next. So first of all, we have to thank you for that discussion. Second, I'd like to remind you that the central ordinance requiring public comment on every agenda item. And to second something that somebody said about work plan, which I have spoken about before, the work plan we are going to be doing is very important in terms of the practice of how we are going to handle what seems to be a major backlog. The backlog isn't necessarily your fault, but how you handle it is within your control. And you've got to figure out, if 1219 was your first one to read, you've got on the administrator's report something like up to 1260, you've got 40 complaints pending. Not to speak of the follow-up from committees that are going to be bringing forward enforcement and other kinds of follow-up issue. Nobody seems to have made a list of what's outstanding and how you're going to deal with it, and that needs to be brought forward into plain public view and discussed. Those folks who have complaints or are contemplating complaints need to know, what, if I have filed a complaint in March, it came today? When I also tell you that the chaos in the administration, and 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 the administ that I pointed out in this letter, which I hope you do read, is exacerbated by the delay in the backlog. In olden times, the law requires a 45-day hearing. If I filed a complaint and it was less than that within a certain time before this next month, the current month's meeting, I knew it would be heard next month. And I would see right here in the procedure about a week before the meeting to hand over materials. What happened this month? I asked 3 times individually to the chair, said, your item from March is going to be heard next week. Well, according to ruling rules, it was already too late at 9 o'clock to give 1 week, to give materials for inclusion in the packet 1 week prior to the meeting. So that too exacerbates the chaotic feeling of the public that things are not in control and folks don't know what to expect or how it's going to move forward or what your schedule is. So I think that that's a matter of urgency. Just quickly from your own procedures, this is a summary, and it says, if additional information is to be submitted by the complainant or respondent, must be submitted to the administrator and filed the working days before the scheduled hearing before the task force, and as well, public hearing procedure, item C, documentation for document to be considered, it must be received at least 5 working days before the hearing.
So thank you so much. We got that, I understand.
So the work plan is urgent, and as at least one member has said, and I think it needs to be one way or another dealt with publicly so the public will know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I make a point on that? I'm just wondering, like, tonight we got as far as we got here, and to find out as we sat down that 4 cases have already been withdrawn. And I know we have to document on our agenda what we're going to hear. I think at the risk of documenting too many cases, maybe we should do that going forward. Instead of listing 4 or 5, list 8. If we can't get to them all, maybe we'll continue. But at least we have them, we can publicly announce them and tackle them. And if we do have situations like this, we can reduce some of time together.
I think what we were deciding whether she thinking we putting 6 cases on there. First of all, 3 of them she withdrew them on Saturday. So, per Mr. Warfield, we can't just decide because you'll not have 5 days. So I did 6 because that allows us 6 cases. If we have to do 6 cases, it would take us pretty much through the night. If we put 10 on there, people at the end, I'm trying to do this out of consideration for people too that are here like till 11, and I don't think, if we can, my whole goal is to be very efficient. And so I want to try and just get through the cases, listen, give fairness, and then go to the next case because we do have this backlog. So 6 cases would have been, we would obviously still be, in the big court cases. So 8 and 10, because that's what I said at first. And then if 3 cases were, resolved or something like that, you just don't know. And today is just the luck of the draw. I think
this goes to Mr. Warfield's comment. I think we need maybe, with the help of Madam Osborne, a closer examination of the cases that we have pending, and to be able to maybe, check in with you to see what correspondence you had with those people to see if they've been reminded that...
So she's gone through every process and said this is the kind of thing, this is exactly what I was saying. It's like, well, let's add some more. But we can't because we will not be following the process of the Sunshine Task Force. And she's done everything by the book in order to make sure...
My question is this, though.
She doesn't call, she can't keep calling. I understand what you're saying because you're doing exactly what I was saying because she can't keep, call me and say, where are you in this? And keep, when she has she reaches out to me. There's an email that goes out to everybody.
I guess that maybe that email needs to, we need to send email out to the next 40 cases. And just say, due to the backlog, we're getting 2 cases, want to make sure you're still on board, we're going to go on to the next, etc. And give them an opportunity to get that and withdraw, so that we don't have bugs, basically, when you get to the, that's the wrong word, but withdrawing cases.
Because she's also in the middle of, I'm going to let her respond. First of all, can you update all of us how many cases are currently in the pipeline?
I don't have around upper 30s right now. So what happens when a complaint is submitted to me, I mediate it first. So luckily we're able to mediate quite a bit of them. Then as those who aren't able to mediate, what happens is a letter goes out to them letting them know, well, your complaint has been received. We don't have an exact date as today because we are backlogged. But if you're able to resolve it, to let us know they have 5 days. I'm sorry, let me go back. The respondent has 5 days to respond to the complaint. If they respond, then I submit that to the complaint, let them know, did we satisfy your request? Yes or no. If not, then we move forward to have a hearing. But there isn't a date given at that time because we're backlogged. We don't know. So there is correspondence back and forth. And most complaints,
Just finished, thank you.
most complaints,
Can you actually take a seat until she's coming up? Sorry. Thank you. Go ahead.
most complainants continually are updating me with information regarding their case, so that we have it. So it's not when they notice that the hearing is coming up, it's like, oh, let me submit these additional items. So continually updating them.
What was your last correspondence with the one that moved through these three tonight?
There's 3, as far as Anonymous, she let me, when I let her know that her case was coming up on that weekend, she let me know that she's going to withdraw because she's going through court proceedings. With Larry Littlejohn, he only...
Just sorry, to go back to the Anonymous one, because I appreciate the difficulties corresponding with Anonymous.
Yes.
That's on the side.
Right.
But so you said at the meeting, or you let her know last week that these would be...
Along with everyone else, right, along with everyone else.
And how quickly did she respond?
That Saturday, she responded, letting us know that she would withdraw because she's going to court.
And Monday, I guess, is business at month.
So we have to stay on the agenda.
And that's another point. I know Mr. Wolf brought it up, but, if the procedure is 5 days, then we shouldn't be getting anything else after 5 days. Like, they've had enough time. I mean, barring an extraordinary circumstances where there's new discoverable evidence, they've had enough time to present that evidence to us, and anything more than anything found in between the 5 days of that they're given, then I don't think we should see it. I mean, something was brought to us recently, emailed to us, and it's just unfairness. There has to be a cutoff time. There has to be a cutoff date in every adjudication of everything. There's a cutoff date. You don't see anything more. Enough's enough.
I think a lot of it hinges on the publishing of the agenda. And last week and this week was an aberration. They were so close together. However, moving forward, especially when the next meeting is going to be the week of the 9th, hopefully, there's many ways we can publish an agenda, let's say a week from now. And then when it gets published, then you might hear from some of our people saying we're going to withdraw, and then we can amend the agenda and still be compliant with public notice. And do that going forward, so that the week after our meeting, we publish the agenda. It gives people 3 weeks to prepare. It gives us also a bit of time to add people back into the agenda and amend that agenda at least 5 days out, working days out, to satisfy that compliance requirement, and have means and get through this backlog.
Can we do that? Well, that's a process that, between myself, the administrator, and also the chair, we have not only task force, you have compliance, you have education, outreach, and training, so a lot of agendas that are going on that have to be created. So it's not an easy process creating an agenda. There's, the deadlines, timelines, there's other entities that are involved in creating it.
Hold us to task and get those committees to get their agenda.
It's not us.
Yeah.
At least let us do our part so that we have an agenda ready to go.
Well, I think we do, because I create the agenda, so, I can try to get...
Last week was kind of an exception to the rule.
And we're doing this in order to try to create that backup, so this special kind of meeting, and if we're trying to do another special meeting, in January, which we're trying to figure out...
Actually, I think we should be talking about a second meeting in January now, so that we get 2 of them off. We should be doing 2 a month until this is resolved, I think.
We need to it's all about the rooms too, and it's all about logistically being able to accommodate that. And also the fact that when you're saying 2 meetings, you're doing committee, you're doing 3 meetings a month. I work full-time, so for me to come in and devote, you know what I mean, that's a lot.
I just don't see any way that we're going to not have this backlog on to the next.
I just want to echo, while I completely feel like my work, I'm sure that that's in fact the importance of having getting more than one meeting to make sure everyone is heard. I really do echo what Jimmy Grant just said. I work full-time. The nature of my work and Joanne's work is actually very, very time-consuming. Very time-consuming. Not to discount everyone else here, but it would be very unrealistic for me to make that commitment as well.
Which we've done, like this month we've done this. It's going to be 3 meetings because everyone's on a committee, plus the extra meeting, plus the full task force. So,
I just want to echo or remember highlight, as much as it is logistically possible to put out the agenda as early as possible so that if items do fall off, that we can put them in. I understand, I will not say that I understand every minute detail that goes into putting in the agenda, but to the extent that it's possible to do that, I think that's a very practical way to try to maximize our time that we are here.
So, I don't want to beat this anymore. I think there are ways to not necessarily publish the agenda, but to notify complainants and respondents that it's our intention to do that and give them some time to either opt in or opt out. And then when we finally publish the thing, it's those cases that are still live. I would agree with all the other comments that were made, except, and I don't think anyone did anything wrong for tonight. I would just say that 6 is a good attempt, although these last 3 were related, and to the extent that they were related and had similar or the same documents, I think we could have attempted 7 or 8 where there are related but cluster. If there are 6 disparate complaints, then I think that's probably a good number. That's all I would say. Okay. But we're doing all we can, and thank you.
thank you. I appreciate all the comments. So we'll try and improve. Yes.
Hi, Howard. Hi. Last week, I asked if my case could be advanced. I explained that I live on East Coast and I've been waiting patiently for a quorum for a disability number, and that's really why I'm here waiting for my case. And I'll be asking you again to try and advance it.
You do have to go in order, I believe. Maybe you could do a waiting list or something.
You have discretion if you want to.
Yeah, we'll take a look. I believe you've been in contact with Madam Clerk, correct? Yeah. Great, so we'll talk about it. Okay. It has been moved and seconded, right, to join this meeting? Meeting is adjourned. Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays. Safe holidays. I think so. I think it came through. Yeah, it was.
Did you see you tomorrow? Yes. Oh, Todd? No, you're on. The David Caucus. Oh, David. David Sims. Yes. Todd David. Todd David.